A wave of panic swept the town in the morning. Notions of otherworldly abduction or supernatural judgment were shouted in the streets, and the people turned to Alderman Schroeder for some reassurance of control, but he had no more answers than they did. A team of inspectors came down from Vaduz on the train, but they found no further trace of what had occurred, or where the missing villagers could have gone. In the end, the feeble explanation they gave the villagers and the press was that the missing people had fled, amidst the superstition and rumors surrounding the dream epidemic and earlier disappearance of Gunther Kaufmann. Some of the officers secretly believed the entire town had organized the disappearances as an elaborate hoax. Little other attempt was made to investigate the matter. The villagers were neither comforted nor credulous of the inspector's conclusion. The few who had elsewhere to go left Baltzers on the train the next day. Those who remained went about their daily routines in stifled trepidation, and by night the only way that some could permit sleep was to fasten their ankles to the bed frame with rope. The fear hung like a pall over the village to such an extent that when Alderman Schroeder received a wire appreciating their concerns and offering an explanation and possible solution to the horror, he was not deterred by the fact that it was sent by a crew of wanted fugitives. The MHS Hysteria had been monitoring the activity of Dr. Wollstonecroft since his move to Liechtenstein, and when they had read about the mass disappearance, they knew what it meant. The missing villagers had not run away, nor had they been taken. They had been erased from this or any other plane of existence, dissolved and devoured by something not of this dimension, which had been drawn to them like predators tracking movement and scent. That which had drawn them, as many villagers had come to suspect, was Dr. Wollstonecroft's machine. It was not, in fact, a Tesla coil. It was a machine that operated on a similar principle, but it oscillated on a resonant frequency so precise that it affected the brains of those within its range, which reached as far as every transceiver in Baltzers. The horrid dreams that had been plaguing the village were likewise caused by Wollstonecroft's machine, and they would not stop unless it was destroyed, which would not be easy. The crew offered to devise and execute a plan to rid Baltzers of the beacon on the mountain, drawing monstrosities to the village, on the condition that their presence and involvement was kept secret from the Bavarian government until the matter was concluded. Desperate for an end to the season of horrors, Alderman Schroeder accepted their offer, and the villagers offered no objection. The crew of the Hysteria wired that they would arrive in Baltzers within the week, and in the meantime the villagers should do all they could to counteract the effects of the resonator. It was recommended that they completely dismantle their houses' transceivers, if possible, and failing that, they were advised to sleep as soundly as possible, no matter what dreams may visit them. And if they should wake, it was imperative that they keep as still and as silent as possible, regardless of what they saw. In the week anticipating the Hysteria's arrival, the villagers took every precaution they could as recommended by the crew. Though none of them could discern how to safely dismantle their transceivers, they went to bed each night reluctantly, though the dreams were curiously intermittent. On the morning of the 12th, two of the Hysteria's crew members, Captain von Arkham and Dr. Mausjagnacht, arrived in Baltzers, carrying with them an array of mechanical apparatus. They had anchored their vessel outside of Sargans in Switzerland, where Quartermaster Mamer and Mechanic Cantari waited, and then sneaked over the border. Von Arkham and Mausjagnacht were met by Alderman Schroeder, and brought to the town hall to present their plan before the eager listening villagers. Dr. Wollstonecroft had been performing his experiments by night, so as not to arouse suspicion, and for safety, for in the daylight the things could sense their prey with greater clarity, and were harder to control. Therefore, an attack on Castle Drachenberg must be mounted after dark, for if Wollstonecroft were to activate the machine during the day, there would be no defense against the horrors that would come. Nonetheless, the frequency would be strongest nearer the castle, so anyone who approached must have some way to protect their mind from the effects of the machine. Thus, the one for the task must be Captain Edward von Arkham, for his bizarre and mysterious top hat had the capacity to negate the frequency. There were many things said of the captain's mad hat. None could rightly say what purpose was served by its inner mechanisms, and there were even those who believed that it connected to his brain. The thought of one man breaching the walls of the castle and destroying the machine seemed outlandish to the villagers, but von Arkham's reputation was outlandish enough to make it seem plausible. Whilst the captain would make his way up the mountain, Mr. Mamer and Miss Cantari would fly the Hysteria above the village and provide cover fire. Their vessel had been fitted with a weapon specially engineered to affect the creatures. Cantari would man the helm, whilst Mamer would man the weapon. If needed, the ship would fire on the castle, but they did not want to risk alerting the authorities. At the same time, Dr. Mausiarknacht would remain in the village and maintain a barrier of protection from the town hall. The device that he and the captain had carried into town was a resonant dampener, a machine designed by von Arkham and Mausiarknacht to counter the frequency of WOLLSTONECROFT's. The counter field it produced had a range of 200 square meters, so the villagers were advised to remain inside the town hall or the houses surrounding it. It would not inhibit the villagers' perception, but they would not be seen by the things from outside. Mausiarknacht would keep the dampener tuned to the right frequency and maintain contact with the captain and the ship over the radio. The villagers were uneasy about the plan, given the potentially disastrous consequences should it fail, but there was little alternative. What would they do if the things came again? What other defense did they have but to close their eyes and keep still? They did not doubt the Hysteria's familiarity with terrible things from the blackest pits of Earth's nether regions and beyond them, but their own understanding of such things was so dim that they could not help but feel uneasy. A few of the villagers who had been paid to build WOLLSTONECROFT's machine helped Dr. Mausiarknacht assemble the dampener in the town hall, whilst Captain von Arkham radioed Cantari and Mamer to bring the Hysteria over the border. The remainder of the afternoon in the village was spent in insufferable apprehension. At approximately 10 o'clock that night, a small cloud glided low over the town. Captain von Arkham informed the villagers that this cloud hid the Hysteria, and that Mamer and Cantari were surveying Falkness and Drachenberg for activity. An hour later they radioed the town hall, where von Arkham, Mausiarknacht, and more than half the village waited, and informed them that all was quiet on the mountain, but the lights shone from the glass dome of WOLLSTONECROFT's laboratory. Tuning his portable radio and giving the townspeople one last reassurance, Captain Edward von Arkham set out for Falkness. For an agonizing half-hour there was radio silence, as the captain made his way up the mountain's northern slope. It was 10 minutes to midnight before the radio squeaked and sputtered, and von Arkham's voice was heard, reporting that he had reached the castle. Another moment passed, and the sound of light, fumbling metal was heard as the captain picked the intricate lock of the heavy wooden door. At length, a sharp, decisive click was heard, telling the opening of the lock. The sound that followed made everyone in the town hall jump, and an elderly woman uttered a cry of distress. Through the radio blared a loud, metallic tintinnabulation. They had not anticipated the castle being alarmed, assuming that Dr. WOLLSTONECROFT had no reason to fear intruders from the village. Now the people in the town hall despaired at what gruesome reckoning the villain would rain down upon them. Assuming the worst, Dr. Mausiarknacht turned on the dampener. At the turn of a knob, the machine began to emit a low, vibrant hum that gave the villagers a light tingling sensation on the back of their heads, along with a slight sense of security in knowing and feeling that the device was working. The two on board the Hysteria had heard the alarm as well, and radioed that there were no signs from the sky that Wollstonecroft had activated the resonator. A split second of calm descended upon the room, only to be shattered by the static-laced sound of clamoring metal on metal from the radio. Everyone held their breath in dread as the din continued, discordant and indistinct. It lasted for 3 harrowing minutes before diminishing to uneasy silence. Mausjarknacht called into the microphone for von Arkham to answer, and when he finally did, it was in a semi-breathless whisper. "Just the mechanical guards, my duckies. No need to panic, yet."